So James Gunn has finally broken his silence on the future for the DC universe as far as the movies go. I know, twice in 1 week, right? How you liking it so far? And I, for one, am very excited about this. I've watched the video already, but I kind of wanted to go over with you, give you some of my thoughts on it, because if you're a fan of the show, if you've watched the show, you no doubt know that I am a much bigger DC fan than I am Marvel fan. And the video that he put up is it's 6 minutes long. So let's just take a look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's take a look at some things. Let's talk about some things that I'm feeling pretty good about, things that are exciting me, and things that I'm a little on the fence about. And I really think there's only like one or two things on that aspect of it. So let's get these on, and let's hear what James has to say.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn.
Hi,
I'm
James.
the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time.
This is very true. This right here, what he said, is very true. That DC movies and DC television, even the animated things, have been very disconnected from each other. It's one of the big problems that we've had about why, if there's a character on a TV show, they can't be used anywhere else. So like if there's a character on a TV show, they can't be in a movie, and vice versa. Or if there's a character on a network show, they can't be in a streaming show. And so it's all been, well, as he said, it's all been very disconnected. And that was always one of the biggest frustrations, that you had the Arrowverse, you had all this stuff going on streaming, and then you had the movies. Sorry, I just got an email. And then you have the movies, and it didn't flow well.
One of our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity.
Using the DC Elseworlds label, I'm kind of not surprised that they're going to be doing this. My only concern is that they don't start abusing this. Like Teen Titans Go, the Joker series, and Matt Reeves' Batman, those are money makers. Those are very popular. They obviously couldn't get rid of those. They definitely weren't going to get rid of Matt Reeves' Batman or the Joker series. So they had to come up with something to justify having them there, despite trying to streamline everything in the DC universe. So I get why they're doing that. I just hope they don't start abusing it and going off on these tangents and making way too many side projects with that.
Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe.
Two things here. One, the Flash has always Shazam has always kind of existed on its own. There's only been one movie. So I don't know how true those words are. Plus, you had a Superman cameo that wasn't really done by Henry Cavill. And they've referenced the Justice League. In the first one, you had huge fanboy. Like, Freddy was a huge fanboy of the Justice League, even had a Batman replica Batarang. So I don't completely agree with him on that, but on the other sense, I kind of do. That, like, Shazam does sort of exist in his own thing. He wasn't part of the Justice League. He hasn't been part of any of the other movies. So he's been on his own, but he hasn't exactly existed on his own. Flash, resetting the DCU. There were rumors off and on about that. Was this going to be Flashpoint? Was it going to reset everything? And supposedly, the original plan way back was that this was going to reset it. So It is what it is. We'll see what happens. We will. Like, I have to be honest. Flash is one of the ones that I'm not really excited to see it. I don't know. I'm very about it. I just want it to be done, to be honest.
Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
That's cool. I'm not familiar with Creature Commandos. As a matter of fact, this is the first time I've heard of them. I don't recognize them as a as sort of like a DC title. I recognize some characters here, especially Frankenstein back there, but I'm not entirely sure this was ever a team or a book. It's not ringing any bells, and I didn't look it up, to be honest. But I do like the idea that they are doing, even though it's a cartoon, it's going to translate over into real life live action. Like, you're getting actors that are going to voice these characters, so then whenever they appear on the big screen, it's the same person doing it. I like that.
The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is a story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
Okay, I was trying to wait and let him get through the whole thing, but I just want to talk about Paradise Lost. I obviously am very excited about that. I'm actually hoping that they're going to draw from a trilogy of Black Label books that they've put out over the past couple of years. I think it's been over like a 2 or 3 year span, one book a year, that was called Historia. That was basically the backstory of Hippolyta, the Amazons, how they ended up on Paradise Island. I think that's going to be really cool if they use that.
The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU.
So Damian Wayne is not my favorite Robin. As a matter of fact, he's kind of a jagged pill for me to swallow. But I completely understand why they're using Damian and they're not starting with Dick or Jason or Tim, who is actually my favorite Robin, it's because he even said at the beginning, everything wants to be uniform. They want to streamline everything. Who's Robin right now in the comics? It's Damian. Of course, they're going to start with Damian. And calling it the Brave and the Bold, I think, is a fantastic move. And he said Bat Family. He said Bat Family.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of
My guy,
comics' really
Booster.
popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating
Yes.
guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us.
Yes.
And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
So that is what James Gunn has to say about the future of the DCU, of the slate of movies that are coming out. I also got to give him props because he said he was going to release the first bit of information in January. People were freaking out on Twitter that we were running out of January. Like, that's actually a quote from a tweet that I read. We're running out of January. When's he going to wait? And in the ultimate troll move, he waits until the very last day to let the information out. Now, there's a few things about this, just a few more things that I want to talk to about this. That, first of all, I love that it's not just phase 1. It's not phase 2. It's not phase 3. It's chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that's fantastic. Just the fact that the chapters are getting names, it feels grand. It feels epic. It feels like that we are looking forward to something that in 2025, Gods and Monsters officially starts. So, of course, that means we do have to wait a few more years. But as he said, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. We have Flash. We have Blue Beetle. We have the Elseworlds, the Matt Reeves Batman, and probably Joker showing up at some point in there too. I'm not really sure when that's supposed to release, but there is still going to be things coming out. But the Superman movie is going to be the premiere of the DCU of when Chapter 1 officially starts. And the image that he used to show, I believe that was from All-Star Superman. It was a classic Superman. It was a bright Superman. I think we all know what kind of Superman we're going to be getting with that movie. And the Supergirl story, the Woman of Tomorrow, I believe that came out during, was it Future State? I think that came out. I saw that miniseries. I didn't pick it up. I didn't read it. I flipped through it. I thought the art was really good and it looked interesting, but for some reason I never really picked it up. My comic store, I think, still has the full series on the shelf. I may have to pick that up, take a read, or maybe pick up the trade. We'll wait and see. I'm very excited about this. Even though there were some things in there that I was a little about, like the Flash movie, for example, coming up. Mm, the Green Lantern series coming out, I'm not really feeling a whole lot of excitement for that. I do like the Green Lanterns. I think I have all the figures for the Green Lanterns at this point, but as he described it as like an interstellar cop show, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see how that works. Waller teaming up with Team Peacemaker. You'll notice he didn't say anything about Peacemaker, about season 2. So I'm wondering if that means Waller is sort of going to be season 2 of Peacemaker. That it's going to go Peacemaker, then Waller. We'll have to wait and see. Real curious about that. I'm just excited. Like I said, I am really excited about Paradise Lost. I'm really excited that the Amazons are going to get their whole own show, and the fact that he likened it to Game of Thrones. And I mean, everybody likens things to Game of Thrones now, but I am very interested and very curious and very excited to see what happens with that. So, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I do think that's all I wanted to talk about. The Bat Family, Superman. The Authority, it's okay. Whilst we'll wait and see what happens with that. It's very interesting that he didn't mention the Justice League. Gonna let that one just be, just let it build. He did say 8 to 10 years. 8 to 10 years. And I think, I can't remember how long it was. I mean, it took 10 years to get to Endgame, right? So maybe 5 years, we have the next Justice League movie once we build up some of the heroes. I also like how he slid in there Aquaman 2, because Aquaman 2 is coming out, but then he just kind of let that peter out. And I think at this point we all know, or we all suspect, that Momoa is going to be recast as Lobo. What do you think? I'm excited. For the first time in a long time, I am excited about DC movies. I was excited for Fury of the Gods. I wasn't excited for Shazam. I just really liked Shazam. I'm excited for Fury of the Gods. But a lot of the movies of the previous slate, and I was very excited for Wonder Woman 2017, and I was very excited for Wonder Woman 84, but that kind of let me down. But now, I look at the whole slate, and it's even if this project or this movie isn't exactly something that is interesting or exciting to me, the whole thing I can be excited about, and the whole thing I can celebrate. The fact that storytelling is paramount. He said that, and I believe that with him. I'm feeling optimistic, cautiously optimistic. We'll have to wait and see what happens as we move forward. But that's what we have, and thank you, James Gunn. So play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.